All right, boom. We have a little random video for everybody today. Today is the top worst things that has ever happened to Spider-Man. Now, I'm assuming this is comics, and well, even though the screen that we have right now is from Infinity War, but still, I'm curious to see, because obviously Spider-Man's supposed to be like a regular. Well, when he's not Spider-Man, Peter Parker's supposed to be a regular guy that struggles with life, and you know, which I heard was what really appealed to the audience. So now, let's find out the top 10 worst struggles, well, worst things that's ever happened to Spider-Man. Let's go. Leave a like, subscribe if you guys want to see more of this, and I'll leave the original video in the description down below.
Tragedy. In fact, his entire life has been defined by it. His parents died when he was very young, causing him to be raised by his aunt and uncle. Peter was often tormented.
That's got to be one of the top 10 things, though, right? No, that's got to be one of the top 10. Your parents dying has got to be top 10, right? Off bat. But I suppose if you saw them die, like, either way, like,
by bullies while in school. His uncle died due to his refusal to catch a robber, making him always feel guilty about his death.
Yeah.
He's almost always struggling with poverty because he has to support his aunt. Peter Parker's life has been a constant war between his secret identity as Spider-Man and his responsibilities as Peter.
Yeah.
Even with the usual struggles and challenges that come with being Spider-Man, some days are just worse than others. There are some days when it just seems like being Spider-Man isn't worth the trouble. These moments are what we'll be discussing in this video.
Okay.
The deaths, grief, and mistakes that almost broke Peter Parker. For our video, we'll only be talking about the worst moments that happened to Peter Parker's Spider-Man. Although there are plenty of other Spider-Man that have endured their own fair share of misery, like Spider-Gwen or Miles Morales, we'll only be discussing Peter today. With that being said, other Peter Parkers outside the main 616 universe are fair game. A hard life is one thing that unites every Peter Parker in the multiverse.
Who's that? What Spider-Man? Is that a monkey? Spider-Pig I've seen from Miles. That's the punk one that we saw from Miles universe as well. That's Miles Morales. That's the one from Miles as well. Who's that one? Who's that?
We have a long road of terrible things to get through, so let's get started. This is the top 10 worst things to ever happen to Spider-Man. Number 10, Kraven's Last Hunt. Spider-Man has one of the largest and most diverse Rouges galleries in all of comic history. Almost every one of these villains have made Spider-Man's life worse in some way, but perhaps none has left an impact like Kraven the Hunter.
What did he
like
do
many of Spider-Man's other Rouges, Kraven would show up and cause a bit of trouble, but eventually be defeated by the web-slinger. But all that changed in Kraven's Last Hunt. This storyline turned Kraven from a bottom-tier villain to one of Spider-Man's greatest enemies. The story begins with Kraven realizing that he's grown old and that his physical strength won't last for much longer. Before he becomes too weak to hunt anymore, Kraven decides to finally defeat his greatest prey, Spider-Man. Kraven travels into New York City and attacks Spider-Man. Peter expects that this battle will play out like all the others, with Kraven gloating about his superior skills and ranting about his evil plans, but things are different this time. Kraven is brutal and efficient while fighting Spider-Man. Once Spider-Man is down, Kraven wastes no time and shoots him point blank, seemingly killing him. As the final nail in the literal coffin, Kraven buries Peter in his black suit. His tombstone reads, "Here lies Spider-Man, slain by the Hunter." Putting Spider-Man in the grave wasn't enough for Kraven, though. He had to prove that he was better than Spider-Man in every way. So he donned his own Spider-Man costume and took to the streets. While pretending to be Spider-Man, Kraven took down criminals savagely and with lethal force on occasion. Eventually, he found the prey he wanted to take down the most, Vermin. Vermin was a man mutated by Baron Zemo, transforming him into a cannibalistic rat hybrid. The last time Peter faced Vermin, he needed
You think I'd ever be in the movies? Probably not.
Captain America's help to bring him down. Kraven was determined to capture Vermin all on his own. After a grueling battle, the Hunter was victorious. For 2 weeks, Kraven terrorized New York City while pretending to be Spider-Man.
Cannibal Killer, Assault.
During that time, the real Spider-Man was in a coma while buried underground. Kraven hadn't killed Peter with his rifle, but simply placed him in a simulated death-like state. Eventually, Peter woke up and clawed his way out of the grave.
Oh my God.
Traumatized and weakened, Peter tracked down Kraven. The Hunter refused to fight him, instead showed him a terrified Vermin locked in a cage. He released Vermin and manipulated him into fighting Spider-Man, but just as the mutant was about to land the finishing blow, Kraven intervened and saved Peter's life. His victory was finally complete. Not only had Kraven definitely beat Spider-Man in a fight, but he had also proven that he was better at his job. He had single-handedly defeated an enemy that Spider-Man needed help taking down. Kraven was the master of Spider-Man's life, deciding whether he lived or died. Now that Kraven was finally satisfied, he allowed Spider-Man to leave and then took his own life. He had achieved all of his goals and died as the apex predator. The entire experience of Kraven's last hunt was awful for Spider-Man. Being beaten and buried alive shook him to his core. He was actually terrified of facing Kraven.
That would be so insane to make into a movie. Oh my God. Like Spider-Man basically thinking Spider-Man's dead and then he's alive and then he's like, no, all right, cool. Basically set him up. Yo!
Again. Spider-Man lost 2 weeks of his life and had to endure the humiliation of Kraven being a better Spider-Man than him. This was one of the few times that Spider-Man just lost, and he didn't even get a shot at redemption. Kraven's last hunt is number 10 on our list because although it was a tough time for Peter, he managed to make it out alive. And there weren't too many lasting consequences.
Well, I suppose mentally there's probably an issue there. Like, rah, this spider just took my job with no Spider-Man powers. Took down brother. I need help with Captain America. Done it himself. Captured him. Then defeated me. Had me in a death state for 2 weeks. I come back and then got worked. And he saved my life and then let me go. Like I'm a dick. I'm joking. Like, yo.
But before we reveal more of Spider-Man's darkest moments, be sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications on to never miss an upload and smash that like button for more Plot Armor comics. Our next moments left scars that would last for years.
Oh God,
Number 9, the Venom symbiote.
Okay.
The Venom symbiote is easily one of Spider-Man's most iconic villains. Spider-Man has a long and bloody history with the black alien goo. Originally, the symbiote...
I haven't seen the new Spider-Man movie yet, so I don't know if it's in the new one. I assume it's not though, because I might have been in the trailer or something like that. Or like Venom would have been in the trailers if it was. But I do hope they do this with Tom Holland's Spider-Man though. I do hope they do the Venom symbiote if they haven't done it.
Acted as a new suit for Spider-Man, a sleek black costume that gave him new powers and enhanced abilities. But those powers came at a cost. The symbiote fed off of Spider-Man's adrenaline. It pushed him to be more violent and cruel so that it could sate its hunger.
We know Tobey Maguire. Is it Spider-Man 3 or Spider-Man 2? Spider-Man 3 or Spider-Man 2?
The symbiote suit also wished to permanently merge with Spider-Man. When Peter realized the danger the symbiote represented, he forcibly removed the black suit with the vibrations of a bell tower. Peter was able to free himself of the symbiote's influence, but abandoned the sentient alien as well. Therefore, the symbiote sought out a new host, one that indulged in their violent impulses instead of resisting them. It found Eddie Brock, a rival photographer to Peter Parker who held a massive grudge against Spider-Man. The symbiote
he's Wham! Hold on, he's Wham in the comics!
Peter Parker who held a massive grudge against Spider-Man.
He was not Wham in the movie. He was basically like another nerd like Peter. But did he get Gal or did he not get Gal? I can't remember. But he's Wham! Oh, yo!
The symbiote and the man became one and formed Venom, a darker, villainous version of Spider-Man. Together, the two became one of Peter Parker's greatest arch-enemies. They repeatedly attacked Spider-Man and attempted to destroy his life. Venom's violent quest for vengeance even created new enemies for Spider-Man. The symbiote created a spawn that attached itself to a serial killer and became Carnage, an even more demented and murderous villain than Venom.
Carnage was good though. I actually enjoyed the second movie of Venom. That second movie Venom was pretty good.
Venom spawned 5 new children when an evil organization named the Life Foundation captured the symbiote and extracted seeds from it. 5 powerful new symbiotes were brought into the world and they caused all their own brand of chaos and destruction.
I remember in the Spider-Man games, was it Mary Jane? Had turned into like one of those symbiote ones, which was actually pretty cool.
The original symbiote that acted as Spider-Man's suit has made his life miserable for years. If Peter had decided to never put on the black suit, he would have avoided years of trouble and life-threatening encounters. Venom
Probably.
holds the number 9 spot on our list because of his archenemy status. However, his shift to a more anti-hero role over the years has kept him relatively low on this list.
Right.
Over time, Venom has let go of his vendetta against Spider-Man and become more of a lethal protector. Despite all the harm the symbiote had caused Spider-Man, there is still some redeeming qualities hidden deep inside of him. Number 8,
that's
the
fair.
other.
If
Evolve
we're going,
or
well,
die.
again, I can only base this off the movies. That's what I've seen.
Spider-Man has suffered a lot of pain in his life, both bodily and emotionally. Our next awful moment is probably the most physically grueling experience in Spider-Man's career.
Whoa.
The storyline, The Other, Evolve or Die, put Peter Parker through the ringer. Over the last couple of days, Spider-Man's body has been behaving strangely. Dizziness, strange dreams, and temporary loss of powers.
Okay.
All of this has been caused by the villain Morlun, a dimension-hopping baddie that absorbs the life force of Spider-Folk. While
Did he say dimension hopping baddie?
fighting a villain, Spider-Man is shot and severely injured. During his recovery, his blood is tested, and the doctor discovers that Peter is suffering from an extremely rare disease. Because of the illness, he doesn't have much longer to live.
Wait, what?
Peter travels the globe and meets with all of his super genius friends to find a cure for his disease. Meanwhile, Morlun stalks him from the shadows, observing Peter's battle with his disease. Parker's friends all tell him the same thing, that they can't cure him, but that the illness is related to the radiation infection that gave him his powers in the first place.
What, the spider
To put
bite?
it simply, the event that turned Peter into Spider-Man is
what's
also now
killing him.
slowly killing him.
Right.
While Peter is dealing with the news of his impending death, he's attacked by Morlun. The two battle across New York City, leaving a path of destruction in their wake. Spider-Man throws everything he has at Morlun, but nothing seems to faze the man. Every time he gets back up, he tosses Spider-Man around like he's a rag doll.
Jesus.
Finally, Peter unleashes a flurry of punches, using all of his strength, but even that isn't enough to take Morlun down.
Jesus.
The villain commends Spider-Man for putting up a decent fight, but then rips one of his eyes out of his socket. As Peter is reeling from the pain, Morlun casually eats his eyeball in front of him. This is when things get really bad. Morlun begins an absolute savage beatdown. He pummels Spider-Man into the pavement, leaving his body a bloody mess.
Oh my
Those
God.
that see the aftermath are made sick to their stomach by Peter's busted and bruised face.
Yo.
Spider-Man is rushed to the hospital, but he's on the brink of death.
I don't
While
know who
he's
he is.
unconscious, Morlun appears in the room and attempts to steal Peter's life force. Just as he's about to finish Peter off, Mary Jane charges into the room and interrupts Morlun's
she dies,
feast.
I'm guessing.
He easily dispatches MJ and breaks her arm. Her scream of pain seems to have woken Peter from his sleep. With surprising strength and fury, Spider-Man attacks Morlun and
What
gains
the
the upper hand.
fuck?
Suddenly, Spider-Man grows a large stinger from his wrist and stabs Morlun, which disintegrates him. With the last of Peter's strength, he tells MJ that he loves her one last time
He grew
and then
what
dies.
from his...
As
What?
Peter's friends and family mourn his death, something begins to stir inside his body. The creature erupts from Peter's body, leaving behind an empty husk, and builds a cocoon around itself underneath the Brooklyn Bridge. The creature turns out to be Peter. Inside his mind, Peter learned that he was saved by the spider
You are a
side of
fool.
himself that he's been neglecting for years. After he learns to accept his other side, Peter emerges from his cocoon completely healthy and disease-free. He goes
Oh.
back to being Spider-Man and discovers that he has new powers thanks to his evolution caused by his spider side. Although Spider-Man came out of the Evolve or Die storyline stronger than before, he had
But he
to go
didn't-
through one
yeah,
hell
he-
of a journey to get
he
there.
had no
He
idea.
was diagnosed with a terminal disease,
Yeah,
beaten
yeah,
within
yeah.
an inch of his life, died in the arms of his wife, and transformed into a monster. It
Married?
was bloody, nasty, and traumatizing, but as always, Spider-Man endures. This wasn't even the worst outcome of the story. In a what-if comic, Peter refuses to accept his spider side and stays in his cocoon. Eventually, the Venom symbiote finds him and permanently merges with him. A new entity emerges from the cocoon called Poison and searches for a mate. This quest leads him to dig up Gwen Stacy's corpse and cocoon it. The comic ends with a red hand erupting from the cocoon, implying that Gwen has been revived as a symbiote entity like Poison. We should all be thankful that Peter
God,
chose his
that
spider
would be
side, or else
mad.
things would have gotten a lot creepier.
That
Number
would
7,
be mad.
Shed. Our
Okay.
previous entry pushed Spider-Man to his physical limits, however, this one pushed him to his mental limits. Many of Spider-Man's villains are tragic figures. Most of them are well-meaning people that were pushed into criminal lifestyles or horrifically transformed into monsters. Dr. Connors, aka the Lizard, falls into the latter half. Kirk Connors was a brilliant doctor who attempted to create a serum to regenerate lost limbs with reptile
turn
DNA.
into a lizard
The
or some
doctor
shit,
used
right?
himself as a test subject. Sadly, the serum transformed him into a
I feel like you
predator.
just got a homeless person. But like, why experiment on yourself? But hey, brother, I got 100 for you. What, you want to try this out? No,
For a creature known as the Lizard. For years, Dr. Connors would struggle and fail to maintain control over his lizard personality. Each time he lost control, it would be up to Spider-Man to stop his old friend from destroying himself and hurting the people around him. The bond between Connors and Spider-Man would be tested to its utmost limits in the Shed storyline. While working at a research lab...
Is this just a normal one that we've all seen from... I want to say... Amazing? I'm pretty sure it was Amazing Spider-Man.
Lizard personality manages to gain dominance over Connors. He transforms into the lizard and eats his
That
boss
looks cold!
and many of his other colleagues.
That is
While on
cold!
his rampage, the lizard hunts for Billy Connors, Dr. Connors' son. Spider-Man holds the lizard off for a while, but allows him to escape to help an injured civilian. When Spider-Man is distracted, the lizard finds Billy and attacks.
Oh.
In some of the most heartbreaking panels in Spider-Man history, Billy tells his father that he always knew that he'd kill him. The
What
guilt and
the
trauma caused by
fuck?
eating his own son are too much for Connors to handle. It completely destroys his human personality, leaving only the lizard to run things.
But why would you, why would you go after your son? Like, why would you purposely go after your son? What's the reason behind that?
With the lizard finally free of Connors' humanity, he
Right, but the lizard must have its own sort of... Okay, I get
gets his
it.
skin, becoming larger, stronger, and smarter
That
than ever
looks
before. The new
cold.
lizard is too much for Spider-Man to handle, so he runs away to survive. Eventually, Spider-Man returns, armed with an antidote and a picture of Billy. The antidote doesn't return Connors to his
But the
human
picture
form,
does.
but it does restore a little bit of his sense of morality.
Okay.
Seeing the picture of Billy causes him to feel guilt and shame again. Although the Connors personality was killed, enough humanity was salvaged to cause the lizard to end his rampage and save Spider-Man's life. The storyline ends with the lizard escaping into the sewers and Spider-Man going to see Aunt May. Once he sees her, he immediately breaks down in tears over all the
Wait,
horror.
what was that last panel? What was that? Oh, Pete, what's going on there?
Going to see Aunt May. Once he sees her, he immediately breaks down in tears over all the horror he had to endure. Peter failed to save the life of an innocent child, and one of his oldest friends was seemingly gone forever. This storyline marked one of Spider-Man's biggest failures, and the weight of that stuck with him for a long time.
I mean,
Number 6, the Clone Saga.
Clone
The infamous
Saga.
Clone Saga has been
Oh
a
my god, is that the one with the meme?
looming shadow over the Spider-Man
Is that
mythos
what this
for
is?
years. It was messy and confusing, but it also gave us some cool ideas and characters that fans have grown to love.
Okay.
The saga starts simply enough. Spider-Man is forced to fight a clone of himself created by the Jackal. Both Spider-Men
Who's the
believe that
Jackal?
they are the real Peter Parker. The battle doesn't end until a bomb goes off and seemingly kills one of the doppelgangers. The remaining Peter is confident that he is the original and returns to his normal life.
Well, they both think they're original, so do we actually know which one the original is?
But there is an air of ambiguity for many years. Eventually, the clone returned. It turns out that he survived the explosion and chose to exile himself for years. He adopted the
Right.
name Ben Reilly and gained a new superhero identity called the Scarlet Spider. The two settled
Ooh,
their
fine
disputes
name.
and started working together to defeat a plethora of new clones like Kane, a dysfunctional and mentally unstable copy, and Spider-Side, a monstrous and incredibly violent clone. For a
Right.
long time, Peter would be forced to fight twisted copies of himself, some of them deformed or mutated, but all of them believing they were the authentic Peter Parker. Peter repeatedly watched himself die in tragic and horrific ways.
Jesus
Eventually, Peter and Ben take a DNA test and discover that Ben is the real Peter Parker.
You're lying!
This news devastated Peter, but he eventually accepted it. He gave the title of Spider-Man to Ben and then retired with Mary Jane, who soon became pregnant. That was the status quo of things for a while until Peter came back and it was revealed that a resurrected Norman Osborn had orchestrated the Clone Saga to specifically ruin Peter's life. Osborn had switched the DNA
Oh
results
my god, he's got some haters. Like, for someone to hate you that much,
to make Peter think he was the clone. Eventually, Ben Reilly is killed and disintegrates, proving once and for all that Peter was the original. In addition to being the mastermind behind the Clone Saga, Osborn also had Mary Jane poisoned so that her baby would be stillborn. Spider-Man's greatest nemesis made him question if he was the real Peter Parker
the fuck?
for years. He also forced him to face off against corrupted duplicates of himself
That's...
that
Yo!
he had to all watch die. And as the final piece of trauma, Osborn stole the family that Peter was going to start with MJ. The Clone Saga might have been a confusing...
If... there's got to be a time where Spider-Man just says, you know what? Enough with the jokes, enough with holding back. I'm going to kill you. I know that's not Spider-Man, and I know. But you're telling me if someone purposely made, touch wood, that never happens to anybody, but if someone purposely made your baby that you're going to have a stillborn, are you not deading them up? Like, are you not, again, touch wood, that doesn't happen to any, oh my God, I'm crashing.
Losing time for readers, but it was a living hell for Peter. Number 5, Ultimate
Jesus Christ, that's only number 4.
Spider-Man's death.
Almost
During the
Spider-Man's
early
death.
2000s, Marvel Comics were set in a different universe from the main 616 reality we've come to know.
Okay.
This new universe was called Earth 1610, or what would be known by the fans as
616. No, I'm
the
joking.
Ultimates universe.
Okay.
In this new reality, many characters had different origin stories and personalities from the ones we've become familiar with.
Is there a reason why they did this? Or they just went, oh, let's do a little spin-off?
But some things remained the same. This universe had a Peter Parker who was raised by his aunt and uncle. He was still bitten by a radioactive spider, which gave him his powers, and the death of his uncle still inspired him to become the superhero known as Spider-Man. Unlike Peter Parker from Earth 616, the Ultimate Spider-Man never got the opportunity to grow up, go to college, or marry MJ. Tragedy struck this Spider-Man right after his 16th birthday when Peter learns that the Sinister Six, consisting of the Green Goblin, Kraven, Dr. Octopus, Vulture, Sandman, and Electro, simply known as the Ultimate Six in this universe, have recently escaped prison.
Damn.
These villains know Spider-Man's secret identity, so Peter is extremely worried that they'll come for his family.
Damn.
While he's searching for the supervillain, Spider-Man sees the Punisher moments away from shooting Captain America. Spider-Man bravely pushes Captain America out of the way and takes the bullet
get
for
shot.
him. Even though he was critically injured, Spider-Man is determined to keep pushing onward. He webs his wound closed and goes on to chase the entirety of the Ultimate Six, minus Doc Ock, who was killed by the Green Goblin.
Damn,
Although
okay.
he's severely weakened from the bullet wound, Spider-Man still fights the remaining members all by himself. Peter puts up a good fight, but the Six are too much for him to
Makes
handle
sense,
in
he's
his condition.
injured.
Right as Electro is about to finish him off, Aunt May shows up and shoots him through the chest, but the fight isn't over
I'm
yet.
sorry, what?
The Green Goblin attacks Aunt May and Gwen Stacy,
Why is-
forcing Peter
wait.
to continue the battle.
Why is Army holding a Glock?
Osborn is moments away from killing Peter when MJ comes in and runs him over with a truck.
Hey,
Despite
yo!
taking a direct hit from the vehicle, the Green Goblin is still able to fight
Yeah,
and
makes
won't give
sense.
up his quest to kill Spider-Man. After being pushed to his limits, Peter manages to lift the truck and smash it on top of the Goblin twice. Unfortunately, the truck explodes in Peter's face after the second hit.
Jesus
As Peter lies on the
Christ.
ground, his friends and family rush to him. In a real tearjerker moment, Peter tells Aunt May that he couldn't save Uncle Ben, but he was able to save her. Peter Parker then dies with a smile on his face as everyone cries around him. Spider-Man has died plenty of times in the past. He almost always manages to come back pretty soon
Not
after.
this
but
one.
This time, Peter stayed dead for a long time. Eventually, Miles Morales took over as Spider-Man in this universe, ensuring that Peter's legacy lived on.
Right,
Peter did come back from the
okay.
dead long after this event, but no one could forget those heartbreaking last words he
When you come back from the dead, and
gave
what
Aunt
does-
May. Number 4, Superior Spider-Man. Our next entry on this list just
Superior
feels downright
Spider-Man.
unfair to Peter. We've seen Spider-Man utterly defeated by his enemies, we've seen villains steal his life, and we've seen him killed in brutal ways.
Yeah,
This next
yeah.
entry on our list has all of these things happening
He
at
dashed
the
with
same
Spider-Ball?
time. After years of villainy and fighting superheroes like Spider-Man, Dr. Octopus is finally dying from his injuries.
Right.
While imprisoned on the raft, Doc Ock calls Peter Parker. When Peter shows up, it's revealed that Dr. Octavius switched his mind with Peter's using an Octobot. Octavius has complete control of Peter's body and access to all of his memories, while Peter is trapped inside a broken and dying body.
What?
Because Peter is never one to give up, he decides to get his body back. Using Doc Ock's memories, Peter connects with an Octobot and summons a group of supervillains to break him out of the raft.
Oh.
With the help of the villains, Peter steals the parts he needs to switch his mind back into his body. When Peter and Octavius finally have their confrontation, the mind swap fails. Octavius had added a metal plate into Peter's head to prevent him from transferring minds again. With Doc
that's
Ock's victory
smart.
finally secured, he begins to pummel Peter's already frail body. Right before Peter dies, he floods Octavius' mind with all of his memories, replacing himself with Doc Ock. The overwhelming emotions caused Octavius to feel guilty and understand Peter's perspective. As Peter dies, Octavius promises to follow in his footsteps and maintain the title of Spider-Man. Doc Ock decides to become the best Spider-Man he can be, a superior Spider-Man. Although Peter died, his consciousness remained inside his body. The Superior Spider-Man storyline was a raw deal for Peter. He had his body stolen, was murdered by one of his greatest enemies, and then made to watch that villain live his life. To add insult to injury, Doc Ock even ruined Peter's relationship with MJ too. Peter Parker's life undeniably sucks at times. Number 3.
I'm Spider goes through it. Peter, I'm not gonna lie, bro. You need a break. You deserve a break.
One more
day. God.
We've entered our top 3 of our list.
Yeah,
these
top
last
3, baby.
really dish out the emotional pain on Peter, mostly because they're all partially his fault. Let's start the heartache with the One More Day storyline. For the background surrounding this story, Peter had recently revealed his secret identity to the world as part of the Civil War event.
Why? Why? Oh, God.
This decision resulted in Kingpin ordering a hit on Peter. Peter's reflexes allow him to dodge the sniper's bullet, but this causes Aunt May to be hit instead. Aunt May is hospitalized but is in critical condition. After Spider-Man gets some righteous revenge on Kingpin, he learns that May is going to die soon. In a desperate attempt to save her life, Peter goes to everyone he knows that could possibly help. They all tell him that they're unable to save May's life. Peter even tries to go back in time with a spell taken from Doctor Strange, but that fails too. While making his way to the hospital, Peter is confronted by a small girl. The child runs off and Peter follows. While following her, Peter encounters a woman in red who reveals herself to be Mephisto in disguise. He tells Peter that he can save his aunt's life if he's willing to make a deal. Instead of the classic trait of his soul, Mephisto wants his marriage to Mary Jane. He gives Peter until midnight to make a decision. After a long conversation, Peter and MJ agree to Mephisto's deal. When they accept, he reveals that the little girl that Peter saw was their future child, who now no longer exists. Mephisto then rewrites history so that Peter and MJ are no longer together. No one knows his secret identity, and Aunt May is whole and healthy. This storyline was like a grenade thrown into Spider-Man's life. Peter and MJ had been married for decades at this point in the comics. With a single deal, all of their history together was wiped away. The addition of the daughter that no longer exists was the final twist of the knife. What makes this moment so painful is that it's entirely Peter's fault. If he had never revealed his secret identity, none of this would have happened. Number 2, Gwen Stacy's death. The number 2 spot is probably the most famous moment on our list. Anybody that's ever picked up a Spider-Man comic knows about the death of Gwen Stacy. During the early 70s, Gwen Stacy...
If it's the blonde one from Amazing Spider-Man, that I die. When I had hit the concrete, it's like, oh yeah, that was
She had been Peter's longtime girlfriend. During this time, killing off a major love interest, especially someone so important to the story, was unheard of. Gwen Stacy's death set a major precedent in all comics, not just Marvel. The story starts with Norman Osborn remembering that he's the Green Goblin. To lure Spider-Man out, he kidnaps Gwen Stacy and takes her to a tower on a bridge. While the Green Goblin and Spider-Man fight one another, the Goblin throws Gwen off the bridge. Peter acts quickly though and catches Gwen with his web before she hits the ground. As Peter pulls her up, he realizes that her neck is broken and Gwen is dead. Peter isn't sure if she died from the shock of the fall or the whiplash of getting caught on his web. The Goblin escapes and leaves Spider-Man to mourn his lost love. Ultimately, Spider-Man concludes that he's responsible for her death. Gwen Stacy's demise is a really simple story, but it carries a lot of impact. Gwen Stacy stayed dead in the comics for a long time after that. So long, in fact, that she was deemed one of the few characters in comics that couldn't be revived. Not only did Spider-Man lose the love of his life, but he directly caused her death, even though it was an accident. This moment marks one of the darkest times in Spider-Man's history and his greatest failure. Number 1, Spider-Man Reign. We finally reached the end of our long list of pain, trauma. This is truly an absolute worst thing to ever happen to Peter Parker. Our final moment is as strange as it is horrible. The Spider-Man Reign storyline is the worst thing to happen to any Peter Parker in all of the multiverse. Our
Okay.
story starts on Earth 70237. In this reality, Mary Jane died from a mysterious cancer that doctors weren't able to identify.
Oh, shit.
It turns out that MJ got the cancer from Peter, specifically from interacting with his radioactive semen. You heard that right.
Hey,
MJ got terminal cancer
yo!
from having sex with Peter. While on her deathbed, Peter left to go catch bad guys when she passed away. Not only did Peter indirectly kill MJ, but he also wasn't even there for her final moments. The trauma from the event caused Peter to give up being Spider-Man. For the next 30 years, Peter grew into a lonely old man. In the first issue, he's fired from his job as a florist because he sent the wrong flowers to a wedding. In his old age, Peter sees hallucinations of Mary Jane that haunt him. It's difficult to see a once great hero be broken in such a way. During the 30 years that Peter wasn't Spider-Man, New York was taken over by an authoritarian government called the Reign, run by Mayor Waters. One day, an extremely elderly J. Jonah Jameson comes to visit Peter and gives him his old camera and the black Spider-Man suit. Seeing the mask inspires Peter to become Spider-Man one last time to take down the Reign. Mayor Waters releases the Sinister from prison to kill Spider-Man. However, Peter's old age has made his body weak and brittle. He's easily defeated by his old enemies and almost killed until Dr. Octopus's corpse saves his life. It turns out that Doc Ock's tentacles were operating on his final commands, which were to show Peter the graves of MJ, Aunt May, and Uncle Ben. The tentacles bury Peter inside MJ's coffin, where he confesses to giving her cancer. Suddenly, Peter bursts from the coffin with his original red and blue Spider-Man outfit, which he buried with MJ. With new confidence and drive, Peter manages to defeat the Sinister Six and reign free New York from their oppressive rule. The storyline ends with Peter deciding to continue being Spider-Man until his dying days. That turned out to be sooner than anyone expected.
How long was it?
In the first issue of Spider-Verse, this version of Peter is shown getting his head crushed with Mary Jane's tombstone. Such an awful ending for such a horribly tragic figure. It's safe to say that this Peter had the worst life of any other version in the multiverse. He gave his wife cancer, abandoned her when she died, turned into a sad old man, got buried in her coffin, and then was murdered with her tombstone soon after getting back to heroics. It'd be nearly impossible for anything worse to happen to him.
How did your missus die? My semen gave her cancer. Excuse me? Yeah, oh my god.
So, what did you think of our list? Can you think of many Spider-Man moments worse than that? Let us know in the comments. On behalf
I'm not gonna lie to you, you know, I feel like... Was it 5? I feel like 5 might have been worse than this. I think 9 was... was it 9 or 4? 5, it was 5 or 4 that was really bad, I think. But I'm not gonna lie though, making like you're the reason for your girl having or your wife having cancer is insane, and like because of your radioactive semen is diabolical. And you're not even there on her deathbed, like you're not even there where she takes her last breath, even though you're the one that caused it, and then you just stop for like 30 years and then get back at it, and then you're just dead with her tombstone covering you, and then you only tell her the truth when you're buried in her grave. Oh my, I'm not gonna, no, what was it, the stillborn thing? That's mad. Someone purposely making your child have a stillborn is insane. Like, you not knowing that your sperm was radioactive, it's sad, but it's like, there's nothing you could have done about it. Like, you didn't know. But someone purposely having your wife have a stillborn you is diabolical. Anyway, this was the top 10 worst things that ever happened to Spider-Man. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if there's any other ones that you might know from the comics that are worse than this. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.